Everybody, I'm Dr. Dave, and of course with me is Amy. We're here at Shore's Wellness Solutions, the Natural Health and Wellness Center, and we do have live studio audience again. Yes, it's awesome. Hi, Kim. Awesome. And we do have Jaden in the back doing some work, so if you hear something go boom, it wasn't us. And we're here to talk about the case against sugar today. And so we apologize for getting a late start. We are experiencing technical difficulties because you know how technically sound I am. And so anyway.
And if we jump off, for any reason, the internet keeps shutting off on us today. So we apologize. If that's the case, we'll record it and we'll post it back up for you.
That's right. So we'll be live and on tape. Awesome. So we're going to start with some sugar. So it says sugar drama. So a little background. I grew up in a sugar household. Yeah, my parents owned a couple Dunkin' Donuts stores, and so here I am today helping people that we gave sugar to for all those 20 years get back to health, right? Now, but sugar comes in many forms. It's not just sugar. We look at bread, pasta, cereal, biscuits, muffins, pancakes, waffles, donuts, bagels, cookies, cakes, candy, pizza, empanadas, roti, and naan. All that is just a partial list of what is sugar. Because we're not just talking about the sweet stuff, we're talking about the stuff that you eat, and when it gets into your body, it turns to sugar. And so when you eat stuff and it gets into your body and turns into sugar, it then gets stored as, help me out, fat.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Look at that. Nobody wants extra fat around, right? No.
No.
Do you? I mean, you might, but
I work too hard for that.
I feel like we don't need the extra pounds.
Okay.
Makes us sluggish. There's a lot of things that are going to happen when you have a lot of extra weight. And we're going to talk about how sugar affects that as well today.
Okay.
So, is it okay in moderation?
No. You hear that all the time. Oh, it's in moderation. No, is it cyanide okay in moderation? No. I won't do any virus jokes today.
So you're saying never?
Correct. So, I love a live audience, right? Interject is perfect. So I always get asked, or I'll ask the question, junk food, sugar, it's okay once in a while, right? The answer is absolutely not. It is never okay. It doesn't mean you won't do it. We're guilty of that too once in a while. It doesn't mean you won't do it, but it's not okay. And for me as a healthcare practitioner, standing here and say, oh yeah, it's okay once in a while, that's not a truthful statement, because then people go out there and say, well, Dr. Rundle says it's okay once in a while. It never is, and so it doesn't mean we won't do it, but it's really not okay. The body doesn't just say, oh, that's okay, I'll just take a day off of, putting in healthy cells,
Well, there's a couple other misconceptions. A lot of people's misconceptions would be sugar-free products are always healthy.
Oh.
Probably one of the worst things that you can do.
Well, if you're talking vegetables, they're sugar-free.
Well, there's fructose, which is sugar, right?
In the fruit, right.
So that's sugar.
But vegetables are okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Proteins are okay. She's meaning like the man-made stuff with the artificial sweeteners.
Exactly.
I know. I'll take a moment. Go ahead.
All right. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, the average American consumes 100 to 170 pounds of refined sugars every single year. Crazy. It's a lot of sugar.
Not me.
I'm going to say, and be willing to bet, only because I teach for the Certified Clinician Whole Food Nutrition course, I'm going to be willing to bet it's up to about 240 pounds a year.
You think it's more?
Yeah, and the stats that you're using, the research, that was true. I'm willing to bet it's more. I bet it's closer to 240, 3/4 of a pound a day.
Well, a lot of the sugar that we're eating, we don't even know we're consuming sugar. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, of the different ways sugar hides in our food. So when we think, oh, we're eating really good, we're not always eating as good as we think we are, because it's hidden in a lot of the different foods that we eat and we don't even know it.
And what we're finding out is 54% of our children now have some chronic autoimmune issue related to sugar consumption.
Yeah.
The sugar equation.
Look at that.
That's right. You want me to do that one? All right, I got it. So you're looking at about half a pound or 60 teaspoons of sugar per day. I'll tell you it's more. I know that. There's a great old video that you can find on the internet that talks about that. The guy talks in your own voice, and he's got this glass cube wall in front of him, and he starts pouring sugar for what the average breakfast is, like a bowl of cereal, a glass of juice, and a piece of toast. And he just keeps pouring sugar, and it gets to lunch and snack, and it's just before the end of the day. It's just a lot of sugar that people are eating. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to believe. Okay,
Thank you.
don't worry. You just took this button right there. So it's hard to believe, but people are capable to eating that. And what comes to mind is that as you're consuming it, it's not just in your coffee and baked goods, it's everywhere. Flavor enhancers and all that stuff. Like that?
Yes.
So question, are natural sugars, you're saying no on like fruits and stuff too?
That's a great question. Is it no on fruits? It depends on the individual. There are patients that we have that we will take them off all sugar, including fruit, because their body is so sick that they can't handle even just a little bit of it. And then there's some, the majority of them will let them have a serving of fruit, which is about 1/3 of a cup, for every 3 servings of vegetables, 1 cup each. So for every 3 cups of vegetables they can have 1/3 of a cup of fruit. And we always recommend berries, melons, and apples first and limit it there until you start getting healthy.
Right. So some of the added places that you can find sugar is your ketchup, barbecue sauces, tomato sauce, which we're all like, oh, the tomato sauce is fine, but there's a lot of added sugar in there. Yogurts, breads, peanut butter, canned fruits always add extra sugar in it. All the soups, yogurts, protein bars, oatmeal, frozen dinners make it taste really good. And there's a lot more things, crackers, all the things that a lot of people will say, oh, I just had a little bit and I eat this every day because it's healthy for me. There's a lot of extra sugars in there.
Patient today texted me a protein bar. Can I have this? And it's 100% all natural. There's no added sugar or anything to it. But because of what it's made with, it's 17 grams of sugar per bar, which quite a bit.
It's a lot, especially that little bar.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not really that full when you're having these little bars, so.
And if you saw our previous video from like a year ago, I mean, what is a box of cereal? It's just diabetes in a box.
And yes, one of the reasons you may not recognize sugar in some of the foods that you're consuming is because there's so many different names for sugar. Some of the different food names, and the list is pretty actually long. So if you don't know any better, you're like, oh, I didn't know I'm having sugar. Dextrose, maltose, glucose, fructose, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup,
corn sweetener,
sorbitol. What else do we have?
Sucrose.
There's a ton of
sorghum syrup. You can
What
have
about
evaporated. Stevia is an herb, but in most stevia products, you're going to see maltose, dextrose, maltodextrin, some form of sugar that's in there.
It said stevia and monk fruit.
Yeah, well, monk fruit is another herb. So if it's just stevia and monk fruit, then there are no additional sweeteners in there.
But a lot of the times you have to be careful because even when you think you're doing stevia or something, if you're not paying attention to the packaging, you're going to see that it does have some of these other crazy fancy words along with it because it makes it sweeter. And everybody likes the taste of real sugar, even when they're trying to be healthy. I need something sweet, I need something sweet. Most of the time there's some additives added to that. So it starts out healthy, or what you think is healthy, and then it ends up turning into more of a, no, not so much. And then if you're doing a lot of the fake sugars as well, a lot of people think, oh, I'll do fake sugar. It'll be much better for me. It'll help with the diabetes and all these other things.
Carcinogenic.
It's it's really not good for you.
And we actually had a patient who was drinking a lot of this one beverage. I won't say the name of it because liabilities, whatever. But it was sweetened with a wood alcohol, erythritol. And she was drinking 6 to 8 of these a day, and she ended up with an erythritol toxicity, which mimicked MS, just struggled walking and stuff. And it took about 6 months to decrease, just to get the levels of the erythritol decreased in the body and reverse the effects that it had on her nervous system to get her back so she could walk straight.
Well, the problem with excessive sugar is most health concerns don't just happen immediately. It happens over time. So people are like, oh, it's no big deal. I can do a little bit here. I can do a little bit there. But what happens is over time of doing that little bit over and over and over again, now it multiplies and now you're starting to get symptoms that are being caused by the sugar that you've consumed.
I mean, if we look at man 200 years ago, man ate about 5 pounds of sugar a year. That's it. And that's about what the pancreas could have handled back then. But now, you know, with the, whether it's 175 or 240, you just take your pancreas out, put it on the ground, stamp on it a little bit, and put it back in and expect it to work. It doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that can be caused by sugar. as well. Allergies, arthritis, different things like that are some of the side effects of consuming too much sugar.
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 Mhm.
All right. So, okay.
Sugar 101. It's awesome. You did a great job. The best the best is to understand how sugar is so dangerous. In order to understand that, you have to know what it's made of. Okay. So the first question is, what sugar? You know, usually it's glucose and fructose. Those are the two simple sugars. Glucose is important for energy. We know that. And if we're not consuming it in our diets, then we're going to produce it. Oh, we make it. Fructose is different. Our bodies don't produce much of it at all. And fructose, quite frankly, there's really no need for it. So there'll be some physiological issues. And that's why fruit can be bad. And people say, well, fruit, it's good. Listen, we have patients that'll eat a ton of fruit, and then they'll go and get a blood test and their triglycerides are off the charts. And I'll look at them without any other questions and they'll say, stop eating fruit. I'm not eating much fruit. And, you know, their family members behind them say, oh yeah, you are. You eat it every day, you know, like 16 servings. But we know if someone's eating a lot of fruit, triglyceride levels are going to crank up. So easy on the fruit.
The relationship between sugar and insulin resistance has become a crucial topic of discussion. Insulin is one of the most important hormones in our bodies. It's responsible for directing glucose into cells and to be used for energy. So, when our cells no longer respond to insulin, our body receives the message that it needs to produce more in response. The pancreas makes more insulin, but over time, the pancreas is unable to keep up with the demand of the blood sugar, and it's no longer able to maintain what it's supposed to do. Now you have insulin resistance.
Yeah, and with insulin resistance, we have a great herbal product that really helps with that. I would love to mention it, but then what's going to happen is people are going to go out to the stores or online and try and buy it, and then they're going to get back to us and go, this stuff doesn't work. You're probably right, because it's really important on how that product is made. And so it's not just about having it, it's how is it made and how does it work in the body. But it's fantastic because we know within 6 months we can take someone who's type 2 diabetic, insulin resistance, and get them back to normal, send them back to their docs and get them off all their medications for diabetes, for type 2 that is. And so when we look at insulin resistance, insulin is such a strong hormone. Insulin puts sugar into cells. It helps us to store fat. So we don't want to be insulin resistant because then if we make more insulin, we're going to get fatter. The fat burning hormones aren't as strong as the insulin. The insulin's much stronger and will have more effect.
Right, and there's no secret that obesity is becoming an epidemic around here. Everybody sat home for quite a while, and what were all of the Facebook posts about? Look at what I baked today. I'm baking this, I'm doing that. And I understand we were all bored, had nothing to do, so we were baking and doing all these things. But obesity is a very big concern that we're dealing with today. And 1 out of 3 children and 2 out of 3 adults are either overweight or close to obesity in the United States, which is crazy.
Yeah, 75% of adult Americans overweight, and you said it, 2/3 obese. And it's more than half of our school kids that are overweight, 1/3 obese. And it's time that we start spreading news about this and start helping these people to just change their diets and lifestyle habits so that they can become healthy and not be a burden to themselves as they age.
And the more sugar that you eat, the more you crave sugar. And people don't realize that. So when you're eating the bread and you're eating the pasta and you're eating the sugary sweets, your body actually craves it more. So it turns into a never-ending cycle, and you're always eating it until your body decides to break down. It doesn't function the way it's supposed to.
That is correct.
We'll talk about fructose and how it affects the liver.
Liver function. So fructose is one of the main components of sugar and fruit. It's metabolized by the liver, but only in a significant amount at a time. You just can't take it all and go, okay, just a little bit at a time. And it wouldn't be a problem if everyone minimized the sugar intake that they have significantly and increase your daily physical activity. So listen, this is a message to everyone that's type 2 diabetic out there. And anyone that's type 2 diabetic, that's a metabolic disease from consuming too much sugar over a long period of time. It is 100% reversible. We know that. And so the key is stop eating the sugar, get up off the couch and start moving. Now you don't have to go to the gym and pump iron like Arnold Schwarzenegger or run, like Usain Bolt. We get it. Most of us are never going to do that. Okay, but get up and move, get up and walk, and get some movement in daily physical activity. Everybody has time. I always tell people, get to the front door, open it up, step outside, close the door, and walk for 10 minutes. Then turn around and go back. You have a 20-minute walk. Okay, and so it's so important to get up and move so that you can burn off that extra sugar, turn it into glycogen, and get that stored and keep it safe. Keep safe levels of the stored sugar. Remember, it gets stored as glycogen in your bodies.
Another thing people don't realize is that studies have shown that sugar can be just as damaging, if not more so, as alcohol to the liver. And people are like, well, I don't drink, I don't do that. Well, you're eating a lot of sugar, and they don't drink alcohol at all. And so it's just as damaging as having alcohol.
Very much so.
If you have too much. Talk about the heart. Right.
That's awesome. Same time. That wasn't planned.
That wasn't planned. That just kind of happened. Anyway.
So your heart loves to eat. Think about your heart beating every minute. Never stops. Not like once a minute. 60 to 90 times per minute it should be beating. The heart needs to eat all the time, and the heart loves to eat, not sugar. It loves to eat fat. Oh, so we should have a diet that's good in essential fats, at least 30%, so we can directly feed the heart.
Well, sugar consumption also contributes to heart disease, which is the #1 killer. So consuming a lot of sugar, you're going to have a higher chance of heart disease, which is not what anyone really wants to do.
You want to know how the mechanism works?
How?
Can't tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Let me tell you. So as we eat sugar over time, it breaks our bodies down. But sugar directly depletes us of the B complex vitamin. Again, don't go to the store and buy B vitamins. Oh, look, vitamin B complex, and you'll see all the B's listed in parentheses, which mean they're chemically formulated. And some will even say natural or all natural. And you open it up and it has that funky smell. That's coal tar, because coal tar formulation chemically is similar to parts of the B complex. So they give you coal tar and you think it's good for you. Stop buying that. You have to get a real B complex that contains everything. But anyway, when you eat sugar, you deplete the B's in your body, and then the heart struggles to beat. It struggles for rate, for rhythm, for tone, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm having heart problems. Then you go somewhere and they give you chemicals to get your heart rate and rhythm and tone back to normal, but it's still starving because you haven't replaced the B's. And so it's so important to get on a good B complex. You can contact us, we'll help you out with that, get you a source for you. But it's so important, but when you refeed the heart, guess what? Those symptoms go away.
So let's talk about sugar and your immune system.
This is another hour. No, I'm kidding.
Could be. Your immune system is responsible for defending your body against illness. Okay, so that's a big deal for your immune system to become compromised. Or compromised, one of the two. Compromised, let's
it's
go
kind of
with
like the cinnamon. Some people can't say that.
Tomato,
Right.
let's call the whole thing off, right? Anyway,
Huh.
so
Go ahead.
it's been one of those days today. We're going to just keep rolling with the punches. Anyway, when you're eating a lot of sugar and consuming that, you're lowering your immune system as well. And now these pathogens are going to contribute. Yeah, so they're going to come in and enter your body. Once you eat sugar, you've got the analysis. How does it shut off your immune system with sugar? You need 1 teaspoon of sugar.
Oh, so the song, just a teaspoon of sugar, shut your immune system off, your immune system off, your immune system off. Just a teaspoon of sugar, shut your immune system off.
For how long?
For up to 48 hours.
Right. So you didn't
Minimum
know
of
that.
6.
Yeah.
See, that's the song that helped the medicine go down. Well, no, a teaspoon of sugar will shut your immune system down for a minimum of 6 hours. A teaspoon. And if you have more than that, it could be up to 48 hours.
Yeah. 100 grams of sugar can make your white blood cell count 40% less effective in killing germs.
Now is not the time to be reducing your white blood cell count or its efficiency in killing germs.
I would say cut out the sugar. Right?
Right, for me to hit the button.
Yes.
And this is a big topic. Listen, over the last 18 years, we have helped so many people that have had cancer. Yep, I'm saying it, and someone's going to complain. Do we help everybody? No. but a lot of people. It's incredible. Cancer loves sugar. And I've gone back to John Beard's work from 1886 and tracked that forward to the present time and all people who have looked and studied his work. And it's just incredible. Since that time, 1886, cancer loves sugar, feeds off of it. So a PET scan, what do? They inject radioactive sugar dye into you so they can see where the cancer cells are because they eat so much quicker. Yes, it's a good test, but they're giving you sugar. Anybody with cancer, the first thing your oncologist should ever say to you is, Mrs. Jones, you're never to consume sugar again. But they don't.
No.
They don't even discuss it.
Usually they would give you a Coke while you're in the hospital and say, here, let me give you a Coke and you can have a muffin to go with it.
And I've watched that with cancer patients, our patients, friends and stuff, and it's sad. It really is. They should know what that entails. But there's a lot of great studies. You can look at Umberto Simoncini's work from Italy. He's now based out of Japan. You can look at the late Nick Gonzalez's work, the late William Don Kelly's work. I mean, just fantastic at what they did with people dietarily, nutrition-wise. And the first thing they did was say, no more sugar. 94% success rate over the course now of about 60 years.
Wow, does it affect your brain?
Brain power.
Oh my goodness, sugar also does affect your brain quite significantly. Studies have shown that sugar slows down the brain's function, hinders new learning, and decreases memory recall.
And we wonder why our kids struggle in school because they get up and they have their bowl of cereal,
or two,
or
three,
toast,
and a muffin,
and juice, or muffins and donuts, and then we send them to school, and at lunch they're having bread and soda and these Lunchables and all these things that are filled with sugar, and we wonder why they struggle in school. And then they blame the teacher. It's not the teacher. It's the misunderstanding of our society of knowing what we're supposed to be eating.
Well, and then they start getting diagnosed with AD. They can't pay attention. Your kid's bouncing up and down all over the place. We need to put them on a medication, right? Well, that's the latest thing they need to do. They should have an egg for breakfast. Maybe that would help solve things. There's a lot of things that you can do instead of all the sugary, quick, fast fixes that they're doing all day long, and you wonder why they can't sit still.
Trivia question. What's going to raise your cholesterol level more? Having an egg and bacon at breakfast or a bowl of cereal?
Bowl of cereal.
Bowl of cereal. Kim wins. She's
Ding,
winning.
ding, ding.
Yes, your cholesterol level is going to rise higher having that inflammatory bowl of cereal every day rather than egg and bacon.
Well, foods rich in sugar disrupt the brain's neurotransmitters that work to stabilize our mood as well. So if you're not balancing your sugar levels, now that can contribute to depression as well, anxiety. People don't realize that, but I'm feeling depressed and I just can't shake this.
Yeah.
But what are they doing? They're drinking sugary sodas, they're drinking Gatorade all day, they're drinking anything that has sugar, they're eating all of that sugar, and it's actually contributing to the depression and anxiety that they're experiencing as well.
Exactly, very much that does feed anxiety and depression.
So, are you addicted to sugar?
I am.
You are.
I am. I can go without it, doesn't bother me, I couldn't care less, but if I have that one cookie off that plate, I want that whole cookie. My family has watched me do that on holidays, and so I just don't touch it, because I know I can, for me it's easy not to touch it, but if I have one, I want that whole plate of cookies.
Well, addiction is the primary. It's chronic disease because the brain gets rewarded when it has sugar. So people don't realize that they are, in fact, addicted to sugar. They don't think about that because it gives your brain these happy feelings, right? It gives you dopamine, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling really good. And so what do? They consume more sugar, some more sugar, some more sugar, some more sugar all day long. But they're actually harming their bodies.
They are, and the sugar stimulates that pleasure center of the brain, but you know what else stimulates the pleasure center just as much?
Exercise, maybe? Oh.
Exercise, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, I know, look at that.
Yeah, so you can stimulate it even better and have better effects than using sugar.
Right, because you're actually going to be bettering your heart, you're going to be bettering the way your body functions.
Brain function.
You're going to eliminate the excess fat, right?
Very good.
Look at that.
So, your little Jersey, let's talk the dopamine, man. So we'll talk about some dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter responsible for controlling the reward and pleasure responses of the brain. The higher the dopamine, the more we are like loving that, and we look for that reward. And so when you eat a lot of sugar, a massive amount of dopamine will be released, and you're like, oh, this is so great. I was going to do that. Okay. But the problem is, it's destroying your body. It's causing those inflammatory conditions, those chronic conditions, the obesity, the type 2 diabetes, the rheumatoid arthritis, the heart disease, the strokes, the deep vein thrombosis, the list goes on. And so the recommendation is not to consume a massive amount of sugar, rather, as you said earlier,
exercise. Yeah, there was a study that proved they did it with rats and sugar. They had the rats eat and consume Oreos. The pleasure regions of the previously drug-addicted rats' brains were significantly more active with the exposure to the Oreo cookies compared to the drugs. So they were giving these rats drugs, right, like cocaine, something like that, and they were also giving them Oreos. So you had these two.
So they didn't want the drugs, they wanted the cookies. Give me the cookies.
They were more addicted to the Oreos. And so people don't think that there's a problem eating sugar. You don't think there's an addiction with that. They always think, oh, well, you're an alcoholic or you're a drug addict and that's bad. Well, it's just as bad to be a sugar addict. You're hurting your body just as bad.
It's just more socially acceptable. That's the problem.
Right.
And you look at that one time a year when, the parents of the little girls come in and say, hey, daughter's selling Girl Scout cookies, right? And you buy a box, or some people 20 boxes, and I'm not knocking that, support the Girl Scouts, that's awesome. But then you get that box home, and what do? You don't have one or two cookies like the serving size says. You grab the whole sleeve. Yeah.
Or I just donate $20 to them.
Oh,
and
okay.
I let them
keep the cookies. Okay. All right. Not all sugars are created equal.
So are there some sugars that we can take? There are some things. That's a hard question to answer because you don't really want sugar, but there are some sugars that are going to be less severe, I guess, if you will, on the body.
Well, if you look at carb intake, piece of bread versus, a sweet potato, both have carbs. The bread is going to get into your body, turn into sugar, be most likely utilize a little bit of it and store the rest as fat. Where the sweet potato, your body's going to get in, use a little bit of the carb, keep the energy, blood sugar balance. But then it's going to use the rest stored as glycogen, so you can use that as good fat later. Not stored as fat around the body, but used as fuel.
All right, so here's some things to avoid at all
Please stay clear of the Domino's box.
Okay.
Aspartame.
Oh.
A lot of people are trying to get rid of the sugar, so they're using things that are sugar-free, which usually have aspartame in it. This chemical sweetener is best known for its appearance in diet sodas. So if you are a diet soda drinker, you are consuming a lot of aspartame.
And it's carcinogenic.
Yes, it is. Some people can tolerate it in the short term, while others get migraines, digestive distress. So if you're a Diet Coke drinker and you have a headache, it's usually contributed to the aspartame in it.
Can I give a shout out for the liver?
Sure.
Your liver can handle aspartame, the amount that's in one Diet Coke, every 60 days. That's one every 60 days. That's it. More than that, the liver's like on overload. It's like going uphill, pushing a boulder. It's just not going to get there.
Yeah. So even though you may not feel that you have symptoms or anything, and I drank Diet Coke all day long, every day, it's not a big deal. It's going to eventually catch up to you, and things aren't going to function the way they're supposed to.
Huge cause of headaches and migraines. Huge.
Sucralose is another one.
Chlorinated sugar. Ooh, that's what I want. I want sugar that's been chlorinated.
Well, really,
and let's call it Splenda. Oh, did I
Right.
say the brand name? Sorry.
It does. It talks about Splenda as
There you
well.
go.
High fructose corn syrup as well.
That's the original one.
Yeah. This is a little more challenging to avoid. It's in practically everything.
And it has multiple names.
Yeah.
High fructose corn syrup, high fructose syrup, corn syrup. Just goes on and on. Many names to disguise it.
Right. And it usually has a lot of mercury, which is a heavy metal that's linked to heart disease. So when you see things that have high fructose corn syrup, you have to be concerned of mercury as well. So.
That's true. That's why I find a lot of mercury in the last couple
We have been noticing that a
I'll
lot.
have to look back at their diets again. Interesting.
Look at that. What are some safer? We talked about this earlier. Somebody asked.
I think it was Kim.
Oh yeah.
Kim asked. Stevia.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, that's right. Deemed a safe alternative.
Coconut sugar would be something that would be better. It's a natural sweetener. It's unrefined, and it still contains all of the vitamins and minerals, where the other sugar is stripped from your vitamins and minerals, and it doesn't have huge spikes in sugar levels when you have it. So it kind of helps balance things a little bit more rather than refined sugars.
Raw honey is good.
Yeah, and it's really good to get local raw honey.
Now I gotta put a little blurb in for local. I was just gonna say that too. Local raw honey. So you go to the store and you see local raw honey. You go, oh look, no. Flip the bottle over and see where it was made, because it is local honey. But here we are in Michigan, and it could be local honey that was made out in California.
Right.
So it's not local. It has to be local to you because of the plants that are around you and the bees that are around you. Using those plants to make the honey will help you with honey that will make your body less susceptible to allergies and infection and stuff. So when it says local honey on it or local raw honey, flip it around, see where that locality was, because it might not be local to you.
Right. Yeah, and you always want to make sure, even if you're using coconut sugar, stevia, and raw honey, too much of anything is not a good thing. So you want to be careful with that and use those things very infrequently.
Right. Yes. Awesome.
Yeah. So, what are we doing?
We're going to be talking action.
Talking action or taking action?
Oh, taking action.
We could take it, or we could talk action too.
Let's talk about some action here. Be taking action.
I know it's ideal to get rid of sugar completely, but we know, let's be real, everyone is not going to forgo sugar forever. There are those few that are going to do it, but you gotta just be aware that sugar is hiding in everything, and pay attention to what you're putting in your body. Limit your sugar intake. Find healthy alternatives. Use moderation. That's very, very key. Even though it's better to refrain, yes, but if you're doing it a little bit on occasion, you're choosing more healthy sugars, you're gonna have a lot better results down the road.
They're very nice today. Anyway, she does, doesn't she? Anyway, had a patient this past week having a conversation with her, and her comment to me was, I'm just not ready to give up all the fun in relation to sugar and baking. And I said, I see. So then I asked her, I said, is it fun having aches and pains? Oh no. Is it fun being overweight because she wants to lose weight? No. Is it fun not being able to sleep at night, fall asleep or sleep through the night? No. And I went through all these symptoms that she had that were related to sugar consumption. So I said to her, so none of those are fun? I said, so what are you not ready to give up? Are you not ready to give up the things that are causing that? Or are you not ready to give up feeling that way? Because what's really fun?
It's not really fun when you're aching all the time. You can't sleep.
No, I can't imagine.
You can't digest your food. You're having.
So talk some action or take some action. Give up the sugar. And listen, it's easy for anybody to do something for a week or two or even up to 4 weeks, right? That's not what we want to promote here. We want to promote lifestyle changes. So take it step by step. And I would recommend add 2 servings of vegetables every day if you don't eat them. If you eat them, have at least 1 serving of vegetables every meal. And then when you get to there, then go to 2 servings of vegetables with every meal. Yes, breakfast also. There's nothing in the world that says vegetables aren't for breakfast. That's weird. Anyway, so get that so you're getting up to 6 servings a day. And as you're doing that, just give up 1 serving of sugar, whether it's a drink, whether it's a cookie, a sweet snack or cereal. Give that up. Just 1 of those a day. And just watch as your body transforms over time.
Yeah, it's not easy just stopping cold turkey everything that you've done. So taking the small steps like that, adding the vegetables into your diet, making sure you're cutting out the sugar, getting a little exercise in. You'll find you'll have more energy. People think that they have energy by having sugar. You do, but you crash afterwards. So doing the exercise is going to help sustain your energy. You're going to get rid of the aches and pains. You're going to lose weight. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to change for the better, and you're actually going to feel better by cutting out the sugar.
And you'll reverse the disease process. And then maybe by the time you're 65, you won't be like the average American taking 15 prescription drugs on a regular basis.
Right? Well,
And most of those are related to the effects of sugar on the body.
I think that's it for today.
Well, thank you.
I want to thank you. Thanks, Kim, for coming out today. We really appreciate having a live audience,
Yeah.
even through all the technical difficulties and the late start today. So we do apologize for that. But we hope that you all take away a little bit of something that we talked about today, lessening your sugar, learning how it affects you. If you have any questions at all, make sure you drop us a comment on our page, and we'd be happy to help you. And if you are struggling at all with any kind of sugar issues, weight management, diabetes, anything like that, we would love to have a consultation with you.
At our expense.
Of course, we do that at our expense, so we can see if we can help you.
Right. Perfect.
All right. Anything else that
So
you want to add?
Believe it or not, that's all I got to say.
I am shocked. I figured you had a whole other.
No.
All right.
I'm Dr. Dave,
And I'm Amy
and we want to be your inspiration.
for Healthy Living. Bye,
Bye.
guys.